Hello, everybody. I hope that y'all are all having a great Monday. Today, in honor of middle grade March, even though it's basically April, I wanted to just discuss some of my favorite books from when I was younger. And also, feel free to share some of your childhood favorites as well, and we can just kind of all bond over that bookish nostalgia of, some of the favorite, because I love to discuss children's books, and I plan on, making some videos where I reread some of my favorites as an adult. Y'all already know I liked Ramona, and I liked Harry Potter, and I do plan on making videos for both of those, and maybe some other ones that I'm about to mention here, because, well, yeah, I'm interested. And also, I noticed that, looking back, I rarely ever, finished series. I kind of just, read one book and was just like, that's the book. And so there's a lot of, unfinished series, and I'm very interested to see, if I, if I read the whole series this time. Because a lot of the time I just read, maybe just one book or a couple books, when I was younger. I rarely ever chose my own books. I got a lot of Braille books from my school, and my grandma would mostly get my, audiobooks, so, yeah, a lot of them were just kind of random, but I'm kind of, rambling now. So I think I'm just gonna go through, elementary school mostly. And not all of these are middle grade, by the way. Some of them are younger, some of them are older. But when it comes to picture books specifically, my mom says that my favorite was Goodnight Moon, and I do remember that, and I liked it. I don't remember too many picture books that I liked, though. I liked that one. I liked Are You My Mother? I remember I had this, reindeer book, and, it was, a tactile book where, each reindeer had, different texture. I vividly remember one reindeer having, these really soft ears that I just wanted to open the book to that page and, and feel the ears. So I remember those in terms of picture books. And then, fun fact, the very first chapter book that I ever read in Braille was The Boxcar Children. And this is one that I didn't know was a series, and so I really liked that first book, and then just never continued it. So I am hoping to read that at some point. Let's see. And then, of course, Ramona, I read that around the same time. I also liked Frog and Toad. I thought they were funny. I don't really remember that one too much, except for I thought Toad was funny. I think there was this one where, Frog was trying to get Toad to, wake up because it's spring or something. And then, did, Toad, change the calendar or something to a date? Cause I think Frog wanted Toad to, go out with him and, play. And Toad is just, being himself, and it's just I am trying to stay in bed, and I'm going to sleep. And I think someone changed the calendar to, trick the other so that they could do what they want. But I can't remember exactly how that happened, but I just remember thinking that Toad was hilarious. And so I liked that. And then also around that time, I liked Ivy and Bean. I think the author is called Annie Barrows or something. for some reason, I only read book 1, and then I read book 6, and I don't know why. But actually, I read book 6 before I read book 1. See, I'm telling you, I did not read nothing in order. But Ivy and Bean, they're best friends. They're like kind of unlikely friends, so they didn't like each other in the beginning. And then, it's about all their shenanigans. I remember the book 6 was them trying, because they wanted to take ballet really badly, and then they hated it. So then they spent the entire book trying to get out of their like ballet recital or whatever. And so I really enjoyed that as well. And like I think I said this before, how I remember reading a Little House book vaguely, but once again, I never like read that whole series when I barely really remember it. And same with the first Betsy Tacy book. I remember that one like vaguely. That sounds like familiar to me, but I think I also only read that first book in the series. I'm kind of interested in reading it though, because it's one of those ones where like it goes like throughout their whole life. I think it's like, from what I can tell, it's like they start when they're little, and then it goes to like when they're like adults and maybe they're like married and stuff. So that's one that I want to read at some point and see if I like remember it. Let's see. What else? Okay, so there were some books that I remember my teachers reading aloud to us. Some that are the most memorable was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I loved that book, and I still love it since I reread it last year. And then I remember afterwards, we watched the movie, and then we went on a field trip to see a play of that. Once again, I did not know that that was a series, and I ended up reading a couple other books in the series, and I didn't really like it. I thought that it was better as a standalone, in my opinion. So, yeah, but I will always like that first book. I think it's a great story. I remember I always wanted to, like, be in the play and, like, be one of the characters. Mainly, I wanted to be the White Witch. I thought that would be so fun. But let's see, what else? Ooh, I remember one of my teachers reading to us the Fudge books by Judy Blume. She only read Tales of Fourth Grade Nothing to us, and then I really liked it, so my mom ended up reading the other books in the series. I don't really remember those books either, but it's another one that I want to read and possibly review here at some point. But I just remember Fudge being a menace to society, is what I remember. Okay, I remember this one wasn't like a particular like favorite of mine, but it is a memory because this happened twice. I think my third grade teacher read this to us, and then my fourth grade teacher read it to us. And this is a book, I'm pretty sure it was called No Talking. I don't know who the author is or anything, and I barely even remember about it, or like remember much of what it was about. But I just remember that in the book, like the boys and the girls were like starting a no talking contest, and the teachers were getting all mad at them about it. And both times, kids in my class got the idea to start a no talking contest, and then the teachers also got mad about it. Thankfully, it wasn't like our whole grade; it was just like some students. But yeah, and I just find it funny that happened 2 consecutive years. It's like, maybe it's not the best idea, but I don't know. Maybe it was a important book. I don't really remember it except for that thing, that like memory. So yeah, those are some like read alouds that I remember the most. And then I'd say, and like, oh, and I also did like the American Girl books, which y'all know that I'm rereading. I kind of want to like do reviews on them though, but I don't know. I might do that at a different, like, a while. But I remember I had a Josefina book, and then I remember I also had an Addie book, and I remember that one just made me cry when I read it, which obviously it's about slavery. What do you expect? But yeah, that book made me so sad. And then, um, around fourth grade, I think, is when I started to get into Harry Potter. I was obsessed. I read the entire series in like a month. And it was just all things Harry Potter. That was all I wanted to talk about. I dressed up as Hermione for Halloween. I was just a big Potterhead back in my day, as I'm sure many of us were. And then around shortly after Harry Potter, well, I was like still in the obsession when I also read the Hunger Games series by Suzanne Collins. And that's another one that I really want to discuss here on my channel at some point. Once again, I loved that. Harry Potter and the Hunger Games was all I would talk about in that moment of my life. Speaking of the Hunger Games, the new book just came out, and I cannot read it yet. I get my audiobooks mostly through Libby and Hoopla, so when they became available, Libby will notify you when a book is available, and when it became available, I clicked on the notification as fast as humanly possible, and yet I still was put on hold for the book, and I still have to wait for 14 weeks. People love this series, and I get it, but oh my gosh, how does this happen to me? So yeah, I have to wait for a long time, and everyone's talking about it, and I'm sad. But that's like not the point of the video though, since I didn't read it when I was growing up, obviously. But yeah, I definitely love that, and I wonder what I would think of it now, because I know a lot of adults do love it, and I feel like it probably touches on deeper things than I was able to understand as a child. So yeah. Then I also remember reading the first book in I don't actually know what the series is called. All I remember is that the first book is called The Golden Compass, and my mom really likes those books, although she didn't want me to read book 2 and book 3 because she thought they might be a little too confusing for me back then, and maybe like I wasn't ready to read them. But I did read book 1. I don't really remember it, except like the people in the main character and like all the other characters have like little demons or like animal companions or whatever, and people are like trying to stop that from happening or like get rid of them. And that's what I remember about that. But I remember enjoying it even though I don't remember it. What else did I read? Ooh, I did like Roald Dahl around that time. Matilda was definitely my favorite out of those books, like that he wrote. But I did also read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and I read James and the Giant Peach. I actually read Matilda and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory recently. I think I read Matilda in the end of 2023, and then I think I read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory in like September of last year. So maybe I should reread James and the Giant Peach. But yeah, those were the ones that of Roald Dahl that I remember. And I enjoyed those as well. And then I also remember liking Dork Diaries. I only had one book in Braille, but a lot of them were available on audio as well. People always talk about Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and I never read that in my life. I know of its existence, but I don't know. I liked Dork Diaries, and yeah, I find those books to be kind of funny, especially the audios. Listening to that is just hilarious at times. And let's see. I remember, I think it was in like fifth grade. I liked the first Percy Jackson book. I think, well, actually, I remember reading it for like the first time, um, when I was like at a school for the blind, um, temporarily. Me and like my roommate would like take turns reading the book aloud to one another, and we never finished it, but then I ended up just getting the book on audio to listen to. But then I didn't like finish it for a long time. I have read up to The Last Olympian now. I read it last year. And I love those. I love that book. And then also I remember being obsessed with this like series. I think it was called the Gallagher Girl series by Ally Carter. I don't know how good these books are. I think they're like a YA series about like girls that go to spy school. They're like teenagers. And I don't really remember what the books were about except for book one. Like our main character, she meets this like average ordinary boy, and like they can't date or like be together because she's a spy and he's a normal person, and like she has to kind of like hide her whole identity from him or whatever. And then there's like a whole series, and I remember loving it. I wonder what I would think of it now. And then, ooh, I remember another read aloud that I loved. I remember we read Number of the Stars by Lois Lowry, and that was my introduction to her. And also, like World War II kind of stuff. I loved that book. I reread it at the end of 2023 as well. I now have a Braille copy. So, yeah, I loved that one. And I think that kind of was the book that made me, like, want to know more about World War II and stuff. And other, like, historical time periods as well. I remember just feeling so, like, nervous and scared, though, the whole time I was reading that book. Or technically listening to it, because I think our teacher read it to us. But yeah, those were some of the most, like, memorable books, or, like, ones that I remember liking a lot from growing up. Let me know what y'all think. Let me know about some of your childhood favorites as well, because I'd be interested in knowing. I do really like to talk about, some, like, positive, like, nostalgia that I had from growing up and, like, kind of just, like, visiting those occasionally. But, yeah. I hope that y'all are having a great day, and I will see you later. Bye bye.